Hello and welcome to A Sense of Centerville in Washington Township, your place for stories about ordinary and extraordinary residents and places in the Centerville and Washington Township area. I'm Susan from Centerville-Washington History, and I look forward to hearing your story. Today, my guests are Janet and Stephanie Treadway. Janet and Stephanie Treadway are the daughters of Frank and Inez Treadway, who started Treadway Gardens in Washington Township. Frank worked at NCR for over 30 years, and he gardened to help pay for his children's college education, beginning in 1969. While Frank worked in the fields, Inez was mostly working behind the scenes. Stephanie now owns the family business and helps run the market operations since 1987. Janet also grows a large garden and cans 70 pints of salsa in the fall. So welcome to both of you. We're glad we have this opportunity to talk about you, the market, your parents, and we'll talk about Ethel Winterhalter as well, whose land that is. So as we begin, let's talk about your parents, what kind of life they had, what brought them to this area, and a little bit about them.
Our parents married in 1946, right after the war, and took a trip and were looking around in different places to see where they would like to live. So they picked Dayton area. My dad had lived up here before, but they were looking for a good place, a well-rounded place to grow kids and everything, with higher education included. They didn't even have kids yet, but they were thinking ahead.
Okay. So where did they come from? Maybe Stephanie, want to tackle that one?
They were both born in Middlesboro, Kentucky, and lived there their whole life. And Dad joined the service at 18, and after 2 years in the Navy in World War II, went back to find a good wife.
All right.
And he found one.
Yeah.
And he found a good wife. Now, tell me about his family. Were they poor? What kind of life did they have in Kentucky?
It was not easy. Our dad was the oldest boy of 11 kids, and his father, my grandfather, was in a wheelchair at 28 with an adult onset muscular dystrophy.
Wow.
So my grandfather had to come out of the coal mines, and Dad was his laborer and to help, and they worked well together. They had a gas station, and then they had a grocery store, and Dad he said he felt like a man at the age of 9.
So he had a hard having to really support the family of 11 kids.
Yeah.
At a very young age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said he felt like a man the first time his dad let him take the mule and the plow, and that was at 9.
And so he wasn't able to go to high school, I guess, after a certain grade,
He quit school in the 4th grade.
Okay.
So
to help support the family.
support. And that bothered him his whole life, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he returned to school in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and graduated with a degree.
So after he had a whole bunch of children,
right.
He wanted to make sure that he was setting a good example for all of you,
right,
in education.
Right.
Well, that's really, yeah. So I think a lot of people came north from Kentucky during that time, trying to find better work and new opportunities.
Right. Mm-hmm. Coming to Detroit and Cleveland area, Toledo, different places, wherever the factories were.
Right.
So,
and during that time, this was an area that had a lot of factories.
Right.
And going to that, he worked for NCR, as I said, for over 30 years.
Right.
And that was the main income for the family,
right.
But additional income. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes about the farm market. So let's talk about your family. You have 6 children in your family, is that right? Mm-hmm. Growing up. Yes. And what was it like being a Treadway?
It was kind of wild,
6 kids always are.
but it was fun. It was a good time, They had them kind of strung out, so we kind of had partners, Bob and Mike would run around. They were the similar ages, and then Teresa and I would run around, and then Jeff and Steph. So
So you have
it was fun.
A buddy, always had a buddy.
And a lot of families were larger then. It was those times. And, we moved to Centerville, and almost every house had a bunch of kids. So it was fine. It was great.
It wasn't unusual.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Mom and Dad tried living in the country 3 times. And twice in Waynesville, once in Bowersville. And that's when Dad saw that our mom needed neighbors. So they moved to Huber South and had 2 boys in one room, 2 girls in one room, and then our brother Jeff in their bedroom. So when they got pregnant with me, they had to move, and they chose Centerville.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's when it happened. Okay. All right. So they outgrew their house, and
They
that
did.
brought them. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So what kind of things would you do as a family? You mentioned that your dad played guitar. So was singing a part of your family?
Yes.
And did you have music that was from like Kentucky, from his home that you
Yes.
sing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And
And hymns.
And
My
hymns.
mom was,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and they harmonized. My mom was an alto,
Mhm.
and when they were dating, my dad would hold the guitar and do the chords and drive, and Mom would strum, and they would sing.
That's before the radio or all of our streaming. That's adorable, being able to play so in sync like that.
Yep.
I'm sure that's a challenge. Okay, so the farm market began as a way to pay for education of these 6 children that were coming. And so talk about that. How the market began. It went from different locations. So let's start with you, and you can add on as you think of things. So the market.
I was 5, and Dad answered, there was an ad in the paper. A guy that had land wanted somebody that knew how to grow things, a partner. So Dad went, and that's where it began, with Dempsey Kerr on Austin Road.
And that's where Yankee Trace is, or around that area?
It's real close.
Okay.
There's a white house that seems like it's sitting right on Austin Road.
Okay.
Next time you drive down, I think you'll notice it.
Okay.
And that's the house.
Okay.
And he had land in the back. And so we sold there for 3 years. And one day, Dad counted 54 cars. He put an ad in the paper for You Pick Beans. 54 cars. He felt like the market was overtaking, getting too big.
Okay.
So he rented some land on Nut Road. We were there for 28 years. It started as appointment only. So you made an appointment. Back then, people picked and canned.
Right.
And so it started out appointment only, but that didn't last maybe a week.
Yeah.
And then people just started coming. So
And Dad made regular hours.
okay, so it was like a you pick. So he would grow the food. People would come and pick for a certain, pay per pound kind of thing,
Or by the bucket.
or buy the bucket. Okay.
And we sold over the stand too.
Mhm,
It was both.
Right. So then on Nut Road for a while, for 28 years, and then one more location, or yeah.
Well, we were on the south side of Nut Road, right next to it used to be Christ the King Church, but for 22 years. And then those people decided they wanted to move to Florida and sell that. So they gave Dad a heads up. And so he contacted the group that owned the field across the street, and they were all for it. Because, I mean, they could claim agriculture and it was a tax.
Okay.
So we were there 6 or 8 years, and Dad went down to plow in the spring, and they'd already started, the earth movers were already there, didn't tell him, and he thought his farming career was over. But he had a friend, Ethel Winterhalter, that he had bees on her land.
Okay.
And he asked her if we could set up there on 1 acre. And she said, I've been waiting for you to ask me.
And you've been there ever since?
Yep.
So we had already had bees there. You've already established a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. This might be a good time just to talk about Ethel Winterhalter. Let's start with Janet. What do you remember about her? I can give a little bit of history, but you probably, and I'll fill in details as needed. Okay.
Okay. She was a brilliant woman, very, very intelligent, and ran her garden that way. You know, she thought about things and made a plan and would talk to Dad, and they would make it happen. So she had lived there since she was pretty young, and ran it for her parents. Her dad was ill, and she had to come and help run it. And that was, 1930s or something. I mean, it went way back.
Right.
So it was a big farm. Ran it well,
Yeah.
But as she aged, it was harder and harder.
Right.
And so with my dad's cooperation, he agreed to do some labor for her and keep her equipment running and do that kind of stuff in exchange for using the land. Mm-hmm. And it just grew from there.
So it's a great relationship.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Right.
Stephanie, do you want to add?
Her parents, her dad, well, the whole family were truck farmers in Jefferson Township. They would truck the produce into Dayton. And her parents bought what I thought was 80 acres for retirement to let other people farm it.
Okay.
And I don't know how much farming they did. They let other people farm it. Uh-huh. Yeah, and there's still other people farming it. Mm-hmm. The Lucases are growing soybeans, sometimes corn.
Yeah, we still have a few farms in Centerville, but not too many are in Washington Township. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about her. So she was the first woman Washington Township trustee, and she was an advocate for the farmers, right, who really encouraged government not to step on the pocketbooks of the farmers. But it was a losing battle. I think there's a great quote from her is there were all these assessments of the land, and she lost every single battle, and she would fight. She would fight for the farmers and lost every time, but she wasn't afraid of a fight, which right, I think is an interesting characteristic. We need people like that can definitely fight for
what they believe in.
For what they believe in, or for a minority that doesn't get heard. And so right, that's what she did. And it was actually Ethel Winterhalter who suggested that we name the school after Ida Weller. So the school Ida Weller was named after another farmer, chicken farmer, Ida Weller, who these people are all on our website. And if you need to know more information, you can check at Centerville-WashingtonHistory.org. So any other last thoughts about Ethel Winterhalter? And we can add her in any other time we need to, but you knew her personally.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was she sacrificed a lot.
For her family.
Yeah. And she graduated number 1 from Ohio State, and they made her number 2 because she was a female. She was accepted to law school, and I just learned the last couple years from her great nephew that she was pinned, which means she was engaged.
Okay.
A fraternity fellow gave her his pin. When her dad got sick, she gave the guy his pin back and did not go to law school. And at the end of her life, a friend of hers and mine, we were helping her with her house and personally, and Cheryl asked her if she had any regrets. And she just, real plain, not going to law school. So she was about 91 then.
Right before she passed.
Yeah.
Yep.
But she never complained, and she was very proud that she allowed her parents to die there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her coming home, she was the youngest of 6, and they were all in their occupations. There was a French teacher there. Very smart family.
Yeah. Yeah. So at 15, she was actually at Northwestern. So that's impressive. She's a very smart lady. But let's return to your family. This land that, and I'm sure we'll touch on this a little bit later, is how the land became, you own part of that land now. But let's talk about the lessons your parents had taught you that stayed with you. So we'll start with Janet. Do you have any lessons that you learned from your parents?
They let us learn lessons for ourselves.
Yeah.
It wasn't like imposed on you. You would just figure something out,
Right.
and talk to them about it. We would have long discussions. As a teenager, we'd have long discussions, and my dad loved delving into all kinds of topics. He really encouraged us to go to school, go to college, just for a year, just a semester, just try, when you're having your doubts and you don't think you want to try it. And I'm so glad he did, because I became a teacher, and I love education, love learning. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't, but
Right. Yeah. But they allowed you to kind of explore your own,
Yes.
And the opportunity was there, whether or not you wanted to accept that.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Any lessons? I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons from your dad, at least, and your mom as well.
That really stands out, that they weren't dogmatic. You have to do this. They were very supportive. I remember him saying, if you got in trouble, if you felt bad, you can't punish a kid anymore. And I've found that to be true with my kids. You don't have to beat them. If they feel bad, they've learned a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
He was just very philosophical.
Yeah. Yeah. A philosophical farmer.
That's right.
Yeah, there's so many quotes I love of him. I love this one that your dad said. I did a lot of research for this, so I love this one. I try to improve all the time, and I think that facing challenges in life is important, even if you don't win. The person who comes in second is pretty darn good, too. What a nice, relaxed way of thinking. You don't have to be number one at everything.
Yeah.
Being pretty good is pretty good. So
Right.
that's wonderful. That's something I've learned from him.
Yeah.
So many other great quotes that I have. So, Stephanie, then you took over the farm. How did that partnership work with your dad? And because there was a process.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For, 10 years, if he ordered seed, well, my niece was his partner, and she left the area. And I had just had my second child, and the timing was right. And I started helping him, and it wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents have to teach you things
Mm-hmm.
to hear them, but it gradually started. I could feel him leaning on me a little
As he got older.
and I was responsible for the stand. he was responsible in the field. I mean, I helped,
Right.
but
Just worked
just
out.
worked out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So he imparted some of his skills to you so that you could keep learning how to garden and how to, because it's really more than gardening. Gardening you think of as a little plot,
Right.
but this is acreage. It's more
Right.
like it's farming.
Right.
So heavy machinery, did he have any of that or occasional?
He mostly used David Bradley's.
Okay.
Sears quit making them in the 70s, and they have a nickname as a man killer.
Oh no. Well, we don't want to use
You
those.
get to the end of the row and you have to pick up the implement, turn. But he could get in that field when big farmers couldn't.
Right.
And he was so good at keeping weeds at bay,
Yeah.
because it's true, weeds will win.
Yeah.
The weeds are growing in this drought.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
When the plants can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I know it's a tough time to garden right now. It hasn't had significant rain in quite a while. Not a good farming year.
Right.
yep.
Yeah.
Each
So a lot
year
of
has its
irrigation.
challenges,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. So let's talk about how the market has evolved over the years. At one point, there was a teepee. So what was the purpose of the teepee? And then, why was that taken down?
Well, Dad in the winter, his mind was going,
Mhm.
and he couldn't get out. If the weather was bad. So one winter he started really researching how to build a teepee. He put one up, and he loved to grow pole beans on it.
Uh-huh.
And so we went through 2 or 3. He would cut the logs, but then I had a Mennonite boy actually make logs of hardwood.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this teepee isn't going anywhere. And then I planted bittersweet. I don't know if you know anything about
I don't know
bittersweet.
anything about bittersweet.
That's because everybody got it out of their yards.
because it's invasive.
But it was beautiful. The top of that teepee was green.
Uh-huh.
And then the berries. You've seen pictures with the little orange berries,
Mm-hmm.
like antique. That's what I was going to grow on it.
Uh-huh.
It was top heavy, and a storm came through, and we haven't put it back up yet. But
Okay.
watch for that to be erected.
All right. So originally, it was easy to find where you were located because that was there. Because it is easy to drive past.
Right.
You're on your way south, and
You can go 55 miles an hour and
Yeah,
zoom through.
yeah.
Right. And it
The
was
thing-
a marker.
The 2 things I remember Dad saying was it was a good marker, and it was signifying our love of the land.
mm-hmm.
He was thought to believe he had Cherokee, and we all, anyway, that's not been proven. But
Right.
so then I planted daylilies around the bottom. I mean, it was beautiful till it blew down.
Yeah.
That's true. I have another favorite quote that your dad that kind of fit in with this. I don't know if I can find it, but it's something like gardening is like this percentage, this percentage, and 51% marketing. And it's so true that in order to do any business well, you have to find a way to market. So he seemed like he understood business for somebody not going,
Well-
to advanced college. He got it.
Yeah, because he was, 14 or 13 when they started running a grocery store.
Uh-huh.
And he said he remembered more people hanging around their store talking,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the guys at McDonald's, But he took that as, you got to be nice to these people.
Mm-hmm.
These are our customers. And customer service,
Yeah.
big with him.
That was big. Yeah. So he was always trying to learn, always trying to explore new ways to to get people into, to buy things. What about your mom? What kinds of things did you learn from her? What kind of personality did she have to be able to support such a venture? We'll start.
Well, she was down there all the time.
Okay.
She would work the stand.
Mm-hmm.
She would help customers too, and be part of it until much later.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had Alzheimer's and was more at home. She still would insist on going to pick up his lunch and take it down to him every day. Of course, I was in the car with her, and just to be supportive. She'd make lunch for him early on. She'd do all this stuff to prepare his daily rations or whatever, and send it down with him. And he would come in after dark, and she would have dinner ready.
Mm-hmm.
He would come in and just want to get cleaned up and everything, and she would have things ready. So it changed over the years. When she was younger, she would help with the garden all the time. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many nights after hours she'd be down there sitting on a bucket picking beans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because she was with him.
yeah.
Yeah.
If she was with him, it was a good time.
Right.
And he played golf. You remember that? He loved golf.
Okay.
And
so he found time to.
He did, but he'd play it down at the garden.
Yeah. He did play golf before we opened the market.
Uh-huh.
He said he was addicted to golfing, and now he was addicted to farming.
Okay. All right. So it had, maybe farming had a little competitive edge to it as well to him to make it a game.
He said first thing in the morning, you could go out and hit 3 balls
Mm-hmm.
toward a target. And it was the hardest thing in the world. And if you got close, you felt really good for the rest of the day.
All right. So a sense of accomplishment first thing in the morning.
He was a caddy as a young man.
Okay.
He was a caddy. Middlesboro has the oldest functioning golf course in the country.
Uh-huh.
And he was a caddy for a while. And he always said you could play one round of golf with somebody and tell what they were like. You could tell what they were like. I don't know what. I don't play golf, but
Yeah.
And he liked the etiquette of golf.
yeah.
Okay.
He appreciated that.
All right. All right. Memories of your mother.
She loved my dad.
Mm-hmm.
It's love. And she was tough.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's it.
she would can and cook.
Canning.
We didn't go out to eat.
No. I know a lot of people don't understand that. Like that was a rare occasion.
Right.
And I may be a little younger, not much, but I think we had similar age parents that that was a rare occurrence. And now it's a weekly thing for me.
It's
and I
rare
know
to
we're
cook at home.
yeah, I know we're rare that we only go out to eat once a week, but that is a gift. That's an art to be able to provide food for your family, both by growing it and cooking it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of love in that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was always plenty to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my brother Mike, his friends would come over after school. They played football and stuff, and they'd come over and they were, "What's your mom cooking tonight?" They all look forward
Make
to
you
that.
popular very quick with hungry boys.
Yeah.
That's so true. Okay, let's go back to ways you have stayed involved in the community. So what are the things that keep you involved in the community? We'll start.
Our customers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of many communities where you have access to fresh produce 7 days a week. Dad and I talked about closing for 1 day a week,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Sundays or Mondays, and we decided with produce, you can't do that. If you don't move it, you'll lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And the kids who work there.
we've had some awesome employees, young kids they think they're going to die if they had to pick beans, but you get out there with them and you start talking. This isn't so bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they've gone on to do great things. And when they come back to the garden, they seem to have really appreciated it, what they learned.
Yeah, and you learn a lot. It's very meditative to be out
It is.
in nature and
It is.
to see where your food is coming from. So I suspect that is something that stays with kids that have worked there.
Well, and when we first started, there was a lot of people canning and freezing. Now it's young parents wanting to show their kids, this is where a green bean. Ethel told me that. Ethel said kids need to know that green beans don't come from a can.
Yeah.
And so,
go dig potatoes out of the ground. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, it's treasure in the dirt.
It is magical. Yeah.
and so people aren't picking 3 bushels of beans anymore. They used to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And but now it's more, let's go out and get some eggplant, or let's go get some potatoes. We'll cook them tonight.
Yeah.
Which is still cool.
It is really cool. And some of the best food that I've had has come from your gardens. Yeah. So it's a great great location. You also talked about donating to food banks. Why is that important to you?
Well, each week on Thursday, they came this morning, we rotate everything. And if we have 5 bushel of green peppers, instead of letting them go to waste, there is a food bank. It's in Fairborn. It's called the Fish Pantry. They hand out the raw product, and those people love it. Yeah. Green peppers, half runners. There was one other place we were donating to. They prepare the food and take it to poor neighborhoods. But that's not as regular as the Fish Pantry. They were there today. They come every Thursday. And
yeah, and
it makes you feel good.
It does. And people in food deserts or poor areas don't have access to those fresh foods. I've donated when I had a bumper crop of butternut squash. You donate. You don't need 12 of them, or maybe you do. I don't know. I don't. But if you can donate it to people who, that's just such a gift to get something that they don't get, access to.
When the Thanksgiving meal was going on downtown, we would give all of our decorations to them. And I just remember thinking, there's a pumpkin called a peanut pumpkin. And it just made me feel good. Those people are going to get to see these cool decorations. Because, they're looking for ways to buy food, much less decorations.
Yeah, that's something that goes by the wayside when you don't have money. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we've covered all the questions here, but I actually want to find out from you, what are your favorite parts of the Centerville and Washington Township area? What are the things that
Oh, the parks. The parks are just wonderful.
Do you have a favorite park?
Grant Life Science Center, but I really like going out to the Smith House and all around on the grounds there. That is fantastic.
Yeah, that's my favorite place too.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful location.
The hills and I just love it.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, maybe we'll see you out on the trails. How about you? You don't have a lot of time. You do a lot of the...
Not in the summer.
Not in the summer, but in the winter you have a little more time. What are your favorite things in the winter?
The nice people.
Nice people. Yeah.
Most. It's just a
friendly.
Yeah.
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 That's true.
You could work down there, and during the course of the day, you will meet so many people, and they are so appreciative and so nice and so friendly. It is just wonderful.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, what's your favorite thing to grow?
eggplant.
I gotta know the secrets. I have not had success with eggplant.
Oh, ours is doing good this year.
We'll have to come pick some up.
Oh, all of it, I guess. We
It's all
grow a Lebanese squash that gets people real excited.
Okay.
And I've heard from people that we have the best okra in Ohio.
Okay. Well,
Okra is my favorite to
Is
grow.
it?
It comes on every day,
okay.
and I save the seeds from year to year.
Uh-huh.
It's not hard to grow, but it's a very hardy plant.
Okay.
And then all my tomatoes, I make my salsa garden. I just have hot peppers, sweet peppers, tomatoes, and
what do you do with your salsa when it's all canned? Just eat it?
oh, we
or do you
eat it
give
every
away?
day. I give it away. Whatever.
Give
Yeah.
it away. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm not good at that level, but I appreciate other people that are. Any last thoughts that you want to talk about that we didn't cover about Ethel Winterhalter, your parents, things that you look forward to the future? Any changes coming up in the garden?
There's always
Oh,
something
yeah,
new.
we're putting up 2 hoop houses
Oh, yeah.
What are
to
hoop houses?
extend our season.
Okay.
It's 30 by 100 foot.
Oh, are you talking about like greenhouse kind of hoop
Yes.
houses? Okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
it's planted in the ground.
Okay.
We can just can control the environment
Okay.
early and late.
All right.
Now, the Mennonites that we work closely with, they heat with wood. I don't see us doing that.
So it extends the growing
Yeah.
Right.
season.
We
Okay.
can get things earlier and later
Okay.
and not,
And not be subject to the weather
Yeah.
Right.
as much. Do you help out? Because you're
Oh, I have so much in the past. I don't now, really.
yeah.
I'm off to other things.
You're off to other
I
things.
am.
Yeah.
I volunteer out at Cedar Creek all the time.
What do you do there?
I do cast iron cooking, and we do paddling programs and things like that. So
You're outdoorsy.
I am, yeah.
In a different way. Yeah.
Mhm. And we travel.
Yeah. And those are good things to do when
Yeah.
you're retired. And
Mhm.
you said you taught school. Where did you teach school?
I taught in West Carrollton,
Okay. What did you teach?
elementary kids with learning disabilities.
Okay.
It was wonderful.
How many years did you do
31 years.
31 years.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys being here and sharing about the garden, Treadway, about your parents, about Ethel Winterhalter. These are important stories, part of our history. And we're glad to be able to share them on this program, and also to be able to point people to our website to find more information about people that we've talked about today. So I'll go ahead and close by thanking MVCC for helping to produce this podcast, and to my guests, Janet and Stephanie Treadway.
Can I just add one
Yeah,
little thing?
go ahead.
I have a certificate, a proclamation that was presented to Ethel Winterhalter in 1973.
Yeah.
And the mayor at the time made December 31st Ethel Winterhalter Day from that day forward. So New Year's Eve is Ethel Winterhalter Day, and I'd like to give that proclamation, it's the original one, to you to pass on.
Definitely. Well, thank you, and we'll go ahead and put that up on our on the screen when we have it all videoed, and we can share that with people. And remember her on the 31st of December,
Right.
in the middle of winter.
Drink a toast.
Drink a toast to Ethel Winterhalter. Thank you for remembering that. That was an important part that we wanted to share about her. And I think it was Paul Hoy who was the mayor during that time, and his wife Elizabeth Hoy has a park near Activity Center. So
Aw.
more connections that
Yeah.
we're making
Oh.
today. Yeah. And she also, I think, was a founding member of Centerville-Washington history. So these are names that we should remember.
Yeah.
So thank
Yeah.
you. Again, thanks to MVCC for helping to produce this podcast, and to my guests, Janet and Stephanie Treadway. If you have an interesting story about Centerville or Washington Township, please contact Centerville-Washington History. Please also come visit our museums in Uptown Centerville Tuesday through Friday, 12 o'clock to 4 p.m. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and watch for upcoming events at CentervilleWashingtonHistory.org. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.